Hey guys, thank you so much for being here. My name is Gaurav Wadhwa. I am the editor in chief for Future of Jobs. At Future of Jobs, we talk to various industry experts to explore the direction of what future of work might look like. What are the new trends? Where are we heading? Is it going to be 4 days work week? Will we ever need to work in the future? To give answers to all these questions and dive deep into the discussion, I have Miss Parul Jauhar with me. She's been a vice president HR for various companies for more than 2 decades in India as well as abroad. She has been instrumental in devising various organizational structures, various recruitment strategies, mental health strategies for various companies. Parul, thank you so much for being here. So good to have you here. I'm so honored to have you as my guest.
Thank you so much, Gaurav, for inviting me for this discussion. And I look forward for a very meaningful and interactive discussion with you. So,
Great. So, Parul, let's start with your journey first of all. I mean, like, how did you get into HR, and uh, just something nice, that I would like to hear. I
Uh,
would want to
so,
hear.
so definitely. So I have been, of course, like you just gave my introduction, I've been in HR through and through and handled all various gamuts of HR. So how I actually got into it, apart from the studies matter, when I did my post graduation and I, majored in human resources with minors in marketing and all, HR was something, which I always felt from right from the beginning. Interacting with people has always been my forte. So that's the reason why I chose HR as a field. Though, it's like, the MBA specializes into various fields. Like you have, now you also have machine learning and you have artificial intelligence, you have computer science, you have, and obviously during our times we had marketing, finance, operations, strategy as one of the major, functions which people would, major in MBA. But HR was something, human resources was something which I was always very much inclined to right from the start beginning. So I think that's how HR came into being. And of course, when I got into HR, I came to know that, the gamut of HR is also very widespread. It's not just related only to talent acquisition or what you call as recruitment or just hiring and firing of employees, but there's a major lot other activities of HR that are involved from an organization standpoint, from an HR standpoint. And of course, it's about human relations, how you interact with employees, your convincing parts, and how what strategic initiatives that you are taking. And now for a fact, now HR is becoming a more of a revenue generating in terms of how they are contributing to the business and having a seat at the board table. During our times when we were, of course now times are changing, and of course things will keep evolving. It HR was always taken as a cost function, and how it would not really contribute to revenue, how it would not really contribute to growth. But now there's a paradigm shift that has happened from a fact, that HR is now actually contributing to the business, adding value to the business, more profitability, more revenue, more productivity, employee motivation, that in turns generates revenue. How employees behave, how employees come to office, which what attitude they're coming to office, how they are culturally fitting into the organization. I think all that has changed over the years, that and it will keep evolving itself. And now HR has become such an important function that we are one of the strategic leaders, one of the strategic shapers of the organization. And HR has earned a seat because of course for the fact that what is the impact that we made on the people, the impact that we made on the organization, and the revenue that has come been generated out of it. So I think that's the major point that I wanted to touch upon. But coming back to your question again, HR is something which was always right from time, like I mentioned before, was always there on my mind, and interacting with people, solving their issues and concerns. Obviously that is at a very nascent stage when you get into the function, how you can help people, relieve them of their issues, because they usually come up to HR asking them, I have a problem with this, I have a problem with that, and HR is the only person where they lean their shoulder on. So I think that's how I got into it, but it has evolved over the years, and I have grown as an individual, I have grown as a person, from the various industries that I've worked with the various organizations, with the various leaders, with the various CEOs and different organizations that have been. So I think that's how I have been. That's been our journey so far. Yeah.
You touched upon machine learning and artificial intelligence. What do you think? How has AI impacted HR and other work-related areas like last 5, 6 years or so?
See, AI as a function is obviously, it is coming over and taking over. But we need to understand, and most people have these myths about AI will take away my job. See, it is not that AI will take away the job. It is a person who doesn't know AI
Hmm.
will feel insecure and will be in a position to lose his job. So what AI will do is basically doing, it helps us get rid of us of repetitive tasks. What are those repetitive tasks which I spend a lot of time and energy and all of my effort in that. So that process will be taken away by AI. But someone who doesn't know AI at all, that person will have to be replaced. But see, there are other factors involved in this. AI will help us in a lot of other things as well. It will help me analyze that data. It will help me cut short on my time, on my energy, where I spend a lot of time all about, maybe creating a job description or something where I use my brains. But yeah, AI will help me put those formats in place, right? But the human intervention, the emotional intelligence, the human judgment, that AI can't do. From that, we need to have a person who comes with that kind of expertise, with that kind of knowledge, obviously, or a HR person who will intervene and help me take those decisions. So all the repetitive jobs of data analyzing, of putting things in order, that process, that AI will help me with it. But again, human interventions, human judgments, human decisions, I think that still lies at the core aspect of an individual and a person coming with that kind of an expertise, which could be an HR person or could be a person if you're hiring for a or a finance person or coming with that kind of an expertise. So I think, but then again, the industry is changing, the entire landscape is changing, the ecosystems are evolving, organizations are changing. Yes, but I think it is important for us as individuals that we keep up with the pace of the environment and how the organization and the trends are there in the industry right now. So I think from that perspective, it is important that we upskill ourselves, unlearn ourselves and relearn ourselves so that we are in pace with the technology, because technology will keep evolving itself, and if we are not brushed up with the technology, then we might have a fear of being lacking behind, and that's where we will feel our jobs will go away, and that could actually happen. So I think AI is both beneficial. It is definitely, but from a standpoint that it will help me take decisions, no, that it will not do. So I think it will be
Upskilling, I
more of a,
think, is a very, very important factor
it
here.
is going to be an enabler for me. It will not take away, it will be an enabler, it will help me. So that's how I see, that's
You
where
know,
AI.
very interestingly, last night I was watching a reel that in China they have this doctor kiosks wherein you can actually go. The machine, it's like a ATM machine, sort of a vending machine, wherein the machine will take your vitals, BP, etc., etc.
Yes.
And there is a doctor sitting across somewhere 1,000 kilometers away. He will look into the whole thing. He will just send you a prescription then and there itself. You know, if there is something which is serious, they would obviously then sort of send you to a hospital or sort of prescribe you to go to a hospital so that it's sort of, lines are shorter, and it's takes up so much less time of a doctor, who has to sort of look at 10 people. Just
Correct.
imagine something like this. They had, I think they were saying that they've installed thousands of these across China,
Yeah.
and they have that in their metro stations or whatever, railway stations. So it's easily accessible to everyone. And I mean, I actually found it very fascinating how this was just like you said, the prime example of how AI will help you do less of repetitive tasks and, sort of spare your time for the more critical patients. So,
Critical
as
things. Yeah.
in terms of talking about this example, now the doctor is not sort of looking at, spending 15 minutes with each patient like that. The machine does the thing, they just send the prescription, and then the doctor is actually, his time is spared for the critical patients who need the
Absolutely.
surgery or something like that. So
Yeah.
very rightly you said there, like what you said. But where do you stand on the skill versus degree debate? I mean, a lot of these companies are moving away from degree being mandatory. uh, in Indian perspective, you think we're still far away from that sort of stage?
Yes, I think that's a very, very pertinent question that you picked up, right? So I would like to, touch upon the fact that skills is the new currency. So
mm,
that's how I would, just paraphrase it, because, essentially it's meaning that, skills is now taking over their pedigrees and the degrees of it.
mm,
But, coming, touching on the fact that, pedigrees and degrees are still important and still imperative, because, be it from a very A grade college like IITs or IIMs and all, of course, the placements are high. And of course, we look at these candidates from a different perspective, because, the amount of the investment that they have done cracking those interviews and those competitive exams, of course, they stand a edge with that. But I think touching on the fact that, skills is also taking over. A person who may not be that, well qualified, but really has the skills, being it whatever, he could have done a computer course, or he could have done some other skills which are required for prerequisites for the jobs. So I think those are really taking an edge, and that's how, they are able to find a secured spot in their organizations. So I
mm,
think, yes, India is still growing from that perspective. We still, as Indians, look upon the fact that is he an engineer, is he a doctor, is he an MBA, right? Still, it is there, but it's going to change. It is still in that evolving stage, and all. It will We will get up to there. But if you go abroad, they really don't pay much perspective to the fact that, what pedigree are you coming from. It's
mm,
the skills that count. If could be you've done a very good Microsoft skill, suit, you have that kind of learning, you have that kind of skill updation, and you can really secure a good job. Or it could be any other, certifications, be it programming or decoding, coding, or artificial intelligence or machine learning. If you have that kind of certifications, you can grab a job at many of the good organization. But I think India will get there. It is the pipeline has started. The pipeline has started in India, but it is going to take some time. So I think with a lot of MNCs coming up in the market, and of course, which are there predominantly now in the in the industries that are there. So I think these trends have picked up. They are really there, where you want to give a leverage to candidates who come with certain skill of, certifications, and that's a prerequisite required for the job. But I think still, I think it's a long way to go, and we will get there. I think another 10, 12 years, I think we should be paying to the fact, because now if you see, engineering colleges are also there at every nook and corner, which never used to happen earlier, right? We were only, oh, he's an engineer, because I remember my father's time. He's an engineer, he's a doctor. Now you talk about engineering colleges are there spread all over.
well,
Right?
stone there is an engineer.
Correct, correct. So are the engineers. So it's no big deal. Same as the case with MBAs. That time engineer plus MBA. Oh my God, what a big qualification. Now MBA colleges are there every year. You
True,
talk about any small state, Greater Noida Engineering College, Panipat Engineering College. So here that time it used to be only REC, Regional Engineering
true,
Colleges.
true,
So I
true.
think it's still we are getting there, but it's going to take some time, and I think it will evolve with the fact with AI coming in, ML coming in, your computer landscape increasing. I think skills will take over, and that's how skills is going to be the new currency in the organization. So that's how I see.
Talking about retention, next topic that I wanted to talk to you about was the retention. A lot of companies, struggle with retention, and human capital and retention has become big factor, in today's time. What do you think is the right strategy for retaining your top talent?
So I think, see, it is, as they say, if an employee is leaving for salary, he might come back because he might be offered B or X plus two in another organization, right? He might come back, but if an employee is leaving for culture, he will never come back. So that's where HR plays a very pivotal and a very imperative point, from that standpoint that organization culture has to be set in, and that trickles down from up to down, and from the leadership and back to the bottom line and to the grassroots level. So that kind of culture which helps retains employees. Of course, with the with the engineering, with these IT companies and all, when the software engineers and plethora of software engineers available in the market, the one candidate sits with 4 to 5 offers in his hand, and they do a lot of offer shopping as well. So retaining this kind of talent, it is not just about money. It's about, what is, and especially with the minimals and especially with the new generations that have come up,
Mm,
it is they want to know what is the impact that they're doing on the business. They want to understand how am I contributing, what is the impact. Am I really adding value? That's the kind of, outlook that they look for. And of course, the other thing is, of course, the flexi working, because, that new generation that has come up, they don't want to do a 9 to 5 all the time or 9 to 6 all the time. They don't want, they want a flexi working timing. Okay, let me see whatever I want to do, because that kind of entrepreneurship is also being inculcated in them. What is the value add that are doing? What is the impact that are doing? And I don't want to work these 9 to 10 hours. I want to do
Mm.
diversify myself, maybe pick up a certification, maybe contribute to more to a hobby, or maybe do something other, try to do consulting assignments to some other firm. So I think retention is it becomes a challenge for HR leaders. So I think we need to understand from a organization point and also from an employee point, that what is it that they're looking from in their career trajectory. It could vary from case to case basis, or it could be, in terms of handling a particular generation, like I said
Mm.
about millennials, or talk about Gen Alpha, or Gen Alpha would definitely be even more faster paced than what we are, and or
Gen
talking about
Z's,
Gen
the
Zs,
big
or
the big
yeah.
topic in today's world.
Exactly. And of course, talking about maybe a generation of our fathers. For them, it is only retirement, or what is the saving, what is the, retireals
Exactly.
that I will get, am I secured in this job? Those kind of, it varies. It could vary from generation to generation, or it could be vary from case to case basis. But I think what I understand, of course, with the old generation retiring and not much workforce in the organization, with Gen Zs and with millenniums, I think it is more important, how empower themselves and the impact that they create on the business.
Mm.
That are those two factors that we look at when we try to set out talent strategy, talent retention strategies in the organization. So that's how we look at how we can, make them understand how you're actually contributing to the business, what is the value add that you're doing, how are you upskilling yourself as well, because they are at that pace, they're a very fast pace, they want to learn more, they want to contribute, they want to expand and diversify themselves. So I think that's how we deal with these kind of generations. So that's how
And
I.
you touched upon, I think, one thing that you said that for retention, culture is very important. Having the right culture, I think that sort of helps you retain your top talent. What makes a great culture according to you?
See, I think there are three, four things that really matter, right? And obviously, it trickles down from the leadership level. I think it is that trust factor that you have to have in your employees. So
Mm.
I think that's the pivotal point, because that actually decides whether an employee will stay or exit out of the system. And of course, the first 3 to 6 months are very imperative, where you try to see, how he's fitting into the organization culture. So I think trust and empathy and having and empowering people. So I think those times of dictatorship, okay, do this, do that, those times have gone now. So it
True.
is that you empower them, you tell them, you do it yourself, fix it out yourself, you will face problems, you fix the problems yourself. So it's completely solely your responsibility, how
Mm.
you take it, how you manage the situation, how you've tackled the situation, and what is the outcome, and what is the impact, and what is the result that has been driven out of it. So I think empowerment is very important, so that an employee feels valuable to the organization, and that's how he can actually contribute productively and qualitatively into the organization. So I think these two three factors really make a great organization culture, and of course trust, empathy, and integrity. I mean, those are the core values that every organization has. And I think it's not just saying all the values, it's also living by those examples, right? It is not just writing those values on a piece of paper, but actually embodying them and ensuring that it is trickled down to the grassroots level, and we are living those values day in and day out, because that's how you can make a great organization culture, which in turn will help you to retain your employees, thereby increase your productivity, and of course, reduce your retention and lower your attrition rates as well. So that's how I see it.
So in a way, it's all interrelated. I mean, like you build a good culture, you help attract sort of the best talent, and then you obviously retain, them through again not just talk, but sort of walking the talk. I mean, I've
Absolutely.
seen. I mean, since obviously we do a lot of recruitment, I have seen a lot of good candidates actually walking out of interviews because their first impression of the company, the way they were treated during the interview process was bad. They said, boss, I don't want to work in this company because the way I was treated, small things like somebody actually did come to them, to ask them for maybe water or something. Everybody's obviously nervous while they're coming for an interview. So these small,
Absolutely.
small things at the end of the day make or break, your company culture. So
Yes.
definitely, you hit the nail on the head there. But again, we spoke about Gen Zs and everybody. Does they, Gen Zs obviously have different expectations in terms of workforce, in terms of how their work should be. But considering how challenging the environment today is, does uh, work culture balance exist? I mean, does is it sort of too much to ask for? I mean, I had a senior employee who said that, look, I'm looking for a job. I mean, I don't know how it's going to be with Trump, threatening every new country every other day. We don't know if what's going to happen. And and on the other spectrum, we have Gen Zs, who are like, we don't care. So it's a very big challenge for an HR leader to manage both the spectrums of employees, wherein people who are millennials, who are in their 40s, might be more sort of responsible towards their work. You tell them you have to sit late, they'll sit. A
Yeah.
Gen Z, you tell them, boss, 6 baje ke baad baitho, they might just walk out, ki boss. But does work life balance exist in today's fast paced world, according to you?
Well, yes, I think, very interesting again, work-life balance. The topic I think I picked up in most of the conversations that, panel discussions that I've had across, in the various forums that I've gone across. So I think work-life balance, again, so there are two aspects to it, right? So it's very different when you work for a promoter-driven company, with those Indian companies, which of course, where our forefathers and our fathers and that kind of generation worked with, they always had a 6 day working. Sundays also they were sometimes they were told to work, and it has to be, could be 8 to 9 to 10 hours as well. If the MD is sitting, then you are also expected to sit,
It's
right?
it's crime to leave
Yeah,
if the MD
exactly.
is sitting
So
and you leave.
you leave, exactly. So you were considered that, you don't have respect for the boss, and of course, it's insecurity, and you might be told to go any day. That's the kind of culture that was set in. So again, so in promoter driven and in these one-man show companies, I think that work-life balance still has to go a very long way. In fact, I think it is not even there. But if you touch on the fact that in MNCs, again, MNCs, because even your boss is an employee, right? Even your boss is an employee. He's also
True.
maybe one of the board members or something. So I think, still that aspect of work-life balance or that work-life culture still is still a little bit pertinent there. It still exists
True.
there. But again, in promoter-driven companies, it is not there. So that's why in MNC is having the 5 day culture and, having, work like 9 to 10 hours. 9 hours is that, sometimes we will not expect you to work beyond that. So I think those factors are still coming into play. But I think a lot of organizations now, even not who are we have a lot of co-founders and very young startups, entrepreneurships that have come in. People at the age of 35, 40 are becoming MDs of, they've started up their own IT firms or their whatever firms, their businesses that they have got into it. They are trying to follow this 5 day culture week and, of course, trying to set in the work life balance. But again, it depends on your CEO, what is the perspective that he comes from.
Mm.
If he's a really hard boss, then he might even tell you to work on a Saturday or a Sunday. But again, if he's little flexible on the fact, then we can have that kind of culture of, maybe a 9 to 5, and, Saturday and Sundays are off for you. So again, it is the mindset of an individual, the mindset of a leader, the mindset of a CEO, the kind of background that he comes from, right? So those things really matter. And that's the kind of culture that is also trickled down in the organization completely. But again,
True.
India still has to go a very long way in terms of setting up the work-life balance here. So still
Uh,
again in the nascent stage, yeah.
I mean, people talk about 4 days work week and all that stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
we are yet to get into, I think more than 50% of India still works 6 days,
Yes,
if
yes,
not seven.
absolutely. Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So, and that too, if they get their salaries on time, it's considered, chalo, mere ko salary mil gayi time se.
Ha. Yeah. Sweden, I think Stockholm and Sweden, they are going on a 4 day week. On a
Yeah.
4 day week. Yeah. China
Yeah.
is also going on a 4 day week. But then, yes.
Really? China?
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't
China,
think so.
I read it there. It's also going on a 4 day week. They are planning to go transition to a 4 day week model. But I think
Will be
again,
huge if China actually manages to go,
yeah,
because they're also like India, no? They're like
yeah,
workaholics and all that stuff. So
correct.
it'll be huge if they manage to do that.
Yeah. So I think again, touching on the fact that, it's the kind of economy, like India is still developing. We still have a long way to go. European countries, these American companies, the American countries and all, they still have evolved. Of course, there
Mm.
is always more scope for involvement, but then again, they have come and reached up the stage. So they can, have that kind of leisure of working, 4 day or 5 day. But I think India is still evolving. You're still developing economy, which you may still say as of now. I think that
True.
also makes a little bit of difference.
True. But then, I mean, another aspect here is that you got a lot of burnout because, I mean, if you have your high performers working 6 days, 7 days, you have a lot of burnout issues as well. Then, in terms
Yes.
of if your best employee leaves because of burnout, because he can't survive 6 days, 7 days, 12-hour shifts, then it's another hassle for an HR. I mean, so there has to be some sort of balance that I think as an HR, which HR has to sort of then inculcate into the organization, which is like if the operations want 6 days, 7 days, but HR has to step in and say that, look, boss, we can't have a burnout.
Yeah,
It-
absolutely. Yeah,
that's the case for maybe retention issues. Then I think HR has to step up and sort of put the feet across.
absolutely. So I think, yeah, that's where, HR plays a very important role. So I think those, monitoring and those consistent checks, where at least your talent, your top talent is, not facing any issues, and, keep having those check-ins to see, where they are, well-being. When we talk about emotional and mental well-being, we talk about, employee benefits, we talk about, productivity, we talk about employee-centric organization. So that's where as HR leaders, we need to do these check-ins and see, how is the top talent performing? Are they facing any issues? Are they facing any problems, be it with the leadership, be it with the clients, internal or external, anything, could be any other issue. So I think those consistent checks, that check-ins that are important, and I think they need to be, done in, day in and day out with the calendar invites that we set in, so that, they're not missed out. Because, see, if you miss out on those, and, then it'll be almost time for the top talent to, you'll be so burnt out that in one day, you'll, just say, I'm not coming to work tomorrow onwards, which
Mm.
is the case that we don't want. At least from a top talent, we don't expect, because he's been contributing very effectively to the organization, right? And we don't want to lose him. So I think those being a little proactive there and ensuring that, you are having those conversations with those employees, especially that, if they are facing any issues, and, you need to ensure that, they're being given the right kind of environment. And I think it is also, I also feel that an employee also needs to, step back and say no. What
Mm.
is it that he can perform? What is it that he cannot do, within the stipulated timeline?
Establish boundaries in a way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You have to, because somewhere you have to draw a line and say, okay, this is within my periphery, or this is within the limit that I can do within this stipulated time. If you keep on burdening me with work, then ultimately productivity will also be zero, and I'll also get so frustrated that I'll have to move out of the organization, which is going to be a challenge for you as well as for me. So might as well not reach that stage, right? So it is better that we proactively set those boundaries. We put in those toll gates. We set in those, timelines. Okay, this is what is expected. This is what is will be delivered in this times. And I think having those conversations with HR as a facilitator in between, and ensuring, if you want to document it, or you want to have this, by having a HR person in between, ensuring that, all the stakeholders are kept in loop, and there's a buy-in from everywhere, be it
Mm.
internal or external. Because sometimes, see, there are tasks which are need to be given, which are timelines where you need to perform where you need to deliver to the external customers, so which we cannot afford to miss. So I think prioritize. There's another thing. You need to prioritize what needs to be done. What is it that you can be looked up, maybe you can delay it. What is it that you need to delegate? What is it that you need to do ASAP? What is it that you can deliver within the timelines? What is there within the SOW? What is there within the, business unit guidelines? So I think those parameters that need to be phrased and then need to be documented. And then, from an HR standpoint, I think we as leaders, we need to ensure that, it's not just writing and putting it, it is also ensuring that you abide by it, right? Again.
True.
So
True.
I think,
One
yeah.
last question, Parul. I mean, as an HR leader, you have a lot of people dumping their problems on your head. how do you as an HR leader then manage your mental stress levels?
Yeah, I think we hear a lot of problems, because we are the source, people coming up with all
True.
the issues and a shoulder to cry on. That's what HR is always
Absolutely.
thought about. No, I think for me, as how I do it is something, say I don't take work to home. So when I'm at office, I just try to finish up whatever's there within my boundaries over there and try to action it. And then, but I don't carry it back home because I know if I carry it back home, it will always keep running at the back of my mind, and it's somewhere it will get reflected. Maybe in terms of frustration to my family members, to my children, or maybe to someone around. So,
True.
and that's where you lose your mental balance as well, right? So that's when you become agitated, and it impacts your people in your environment and in your surrounding. So I think that's how I try to do it. But sometimes some things keep running in your mind, and I
Absolutely.
try to write down as much as I can, so which helps in making seeking clarity. Okay, what is it that I need to action right now? Priority. Okay, this I can do, this I can do later. So it gives me a little bit of clarity and vision. Okay, so what I
Mm.
need to do, what is it that it is important for me right now, because there are too many things that run in your mind with so many employee issues, so many strategies, HR strategies, with the boss also telling you something, your customers telling you something, employees telling something, policies need to be formulated, your rewards need to be done. There are so many things. So I
True.
think I think try to write down as much as I can so that I can get clarity and focus on the tasks that are on priority.
Mm.
Third thing, I try to do some meditation in the morning so that I have a calm mind. So they all say that, but I think
So that you don't lose it.
yeah, so that you don't lose it. Yes, we try to. I mean, that's how I try to at least do 20-25 minutes of meditation in the morning, keeping a calm mind. Thinking, okay, this 20 minutes is just me. I think the other two, three things only that come, that is all. I think other regular checks of, just if you have take certain breaks in between, because that is also important, because you keep working all the time and your mind doesn't get a break. I think then you are just juggle up the tasks, so which leads to nothing. So multitasking is important, and we need to ensure all the tasks are given. We need manage. We need to be delivered. They have to be delivered also. But I think taking these on and off breaks are also important. So I think that's how I do it. That's
Great. Thank you so much for your time, Parul. It's been lovely chatting with you.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Gaurav. Look forward for more such interactions. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank
Take care.